Well, Commissioner, first of all, congratulations on your next 4 years. What drives you to hold this office and drives you towards the future?
Well, I think each of us have a responsibility to serve. Whether we serve in our local community, on a planning and zoning board, or a building committee at our church, I think we all have a responsibility to serve and to give back. And that's really, to me, what being Commissioner of Agriculture is all about. I know that my parents worked hard to give me an opportunity in this state, to give me an education, and also required us to be responsible. And I think each of us have a responsibility as citizens of Texas to give back in some way. It's an honor to serve, and I thank the members of the Texas Farm Bureau for giving me this opportunity.
You have 4 years ahead of you. Challenges maybe your office, your department faces.
Well, the single greatest issue facing agriculture in the next 50 years, aside from the policies emanating from Washington, is the availability of water. But we know at the Department of Agriculture that we've got a great team. We want to listen. We want to be responsive to the farmers and ranchers and the consumers that we serve. We know that as our state faces an economic downturn, we need to tighten our budget belt at the Department of Agriculture, all while we deliver high quality services. I'd ask for the prayers of the members of the Farm Bureau so that they would give us wisdom, that God would give us wisdom as we seek to fulfill our duties that we have to carry out.
Groundwater, another battle looming. What do you see playing out there?
If we want our groundwater preserved, protected, and used effectively, we have to assure the rights of landowners, because no one, and I mean no one, is a better steward of property than those that have a vested right to it. We have to re-clarify the rights of landowners to groundwater this next legislative session. It's going to be a tough issue. We need to also remind our friends and neighbors in the metropolitan areas of the state that we're in this together. We can't survive if we fight over a small piece of pie. We have to continue to make that pie bigger for everyone and realize that before a drop of water comes out of a faucet in Houston or Dallas, that water usually falls on a Texas farm or ranch.
Why are private property rights and good private property rights so important?
Well, the rights of private property owners are a fundamental cornerstone of the state economy. People came to Texas in order to stake out their claim. One of our greatest legacies is to leave our heirs a piece of property, whether it's a small home or a part of the rolling Texas countryside. And as we have transportation needs, as we have utility needs, our rights of property owners cannot be put at the tail end of the process. They need to be put at the front end of the process. And if we want people to continue to come to Texas, we must say that we affirm the rights of private property owners. In Texas, our home is our castle, and we must have eminent domain reform now.
And eminent domain and private property rights, do you think it sort of gets lost in the fact that it affects everybody, not just the people out on farms and ranches?
You know, it is about agriculture, but it is about our entire state philosophy, what we stand for as Texans, what we value. And that's really our message. If we want Texas consumers to enjoy the safest, most affordable, most reliable food supply in the world, we have to have farmers and ranchers that are treated fairly in the event that eminent domain has to be used. It's a constitutional principle that has been embedded in our country since its beginning. But the Constitution says when eminent domain must be used, a landowner must be provided just compensation, period. Not just compensation unless it costs too much or unless it's too hard. It is critical we establish those rights and reaffirm those in Texas.
What's your sort of take? Are you encouraged that this is the year?
You know, big issues sometimes require staying power. They require us to not be discouraged when we fail the first or second time. People in farming and ranching understand about adversity. They know that sometimes you have a series of tough years, but you have that staying power and ultimately everything lines up. I'm confident that this is the year to reform and to reaffirm the rights of property owners in Texas. But it won't happen without a continued emphasis. It won't happen without Texas Farm Bureau members continuing to rally the call for all Texans to stand up and defend the rights of home and landowners.
Another battle looming, I guess, is redistricting. More people moving to the cities, more moving off the farms. What do you think that means for rural Texas?
Well, I think it means a new generation of elected officials who have been so far removed from production agriculture that they may not have a direct relation to the land today. And I think groups like the Texas Farm Bureau who understand the tie to the land need to make certain that we remind consumers of the relationship and how we need public policies so that we can continue to have domestic agricultural production. We don't like being dependent on foreign oil. We must not become dependent on foreign food. And when it comes to redistricting, we have to have districts that have representatives and we have enough rural influence in those districts that the congressmen, the senators, and the representatives have to get out into the countryside to see that we're all in this together and that we need public policy that moves all parts of Texas forward.
Does that create the challenge for your office and people like Texas Farm Bureau members to educate those that aren't?
That's one of the biggest roles I think that we have in this day and time is to educate our neighbors, to remind the consumers about the importance of water and property rights and policies and redistricting that influences all of Texas. We need to invite our urban friends and neighbors out to experience the great outdoors of Texas, whether it's seeing harvest time or it's seeing planting time or inviting them to hunt and fish at some good spots in Texas, because we need to remind them of what it takes, and we need to do it in a way that gives our younger generation an opportunity. I was afforded opportunities by my vocational agriculture teachers that got me involved in leadership positions, that took me to conventions and gave me opportunities, and we need to do the same for the generation behind us.